What's up, guys? Figured I'd take you for a little cruise. Post a second video here, kind of give you an update on this car and kind of see how it's driving and running and stuff. But yeah, just over in Texas with it here. Probably made about 500 miles so far. Just taking it for a little cruise and testing it out, seeing how it's working. Gonna hopefully make it home here problem free, but kind of wanted to show you a little bit of how it runs and drives and stuff here. Okay. Put in the holder here. Hopefully it's not too shaky in this mount, but get back on the road here and see if we can make some miles and see how she runs here. But and these cars are pretty awesome for how they ride. Like, everybody refers to them as the old couch feel or whatever, which is totally true. It's like they ride like sitting on a couch or riding on air. It's pretty nice that way and stuff for doing longer trips. Like I said, I'm a little bit tall for it, so it's a little bit long-legged for it and stuff, but really not too bad. I just have back problems, so have to be pretty much perfect. I didn't realize till not too long ago, the chiropractor said the reason that happens is if your knees are above your waist when you're sitting, that ends up like pulling away the muscles or whatever from your spine, I guess, and it doesn't take very long and then it starts to be a bother. So right there, I was like, you could see I was barely moving, and I've got the pedal probably 90% of the way to the floor here. So it's kind of sketchy to drive a little bit here. I'm gonna obviously make it home like this and stuff, but I don't know if I really want anybody driving it until we get this sorted out. From my personal experiences, when there's air in the lines, usually you pump up the pedal and then you have brakes. This one's not like that. Like, I'm gonna just stop and put it in neutral for a second here. Try to pump the brakes a little bit, but it doesn't feel like they firm up to me. So that tells me almost like the master cylinders maybe weak. I don't have great experiences with master cylinders going bad. Usually when I have them go bad, they go totally bad and I have no brakes at all. So not the best situation there, but hopefully that doesn't end up being the case with this one. Sucks because if it is the master cylinder, that means you have to bleed the whole system again and stuff. So my son's got a bunch of stuff next week in their school, so he's not going to be able to work on this thing, so I might end up having to take it to a shop. Kind of see here, give her the beans here and give you a little quick, you guys can hear just a little bit there. It's got quite a bit of power. We'll just kind of go from a little bit of a stop here and see just kind of what it can do. There's 40, 50, 60. Like, pretty healthy actually. We kind of joke around because we got these old square bodies and stuff, and I'm pretty sure this would probably annihilate those two trucks. I don't know how fast these are. You know, like the supercharged version of this were very quick. For even from the factory, I think they were 14-second cars or whatever, which for a pretty big land yacht car, that's pretty impressive, you know. So it's kind of funny actually. I'm not gonna bag it too much. Number one, it's not my car, and number two, these don't have the strongest transmission. So I was actually very surprised. I was burning the tires back there though. That's kind of funny. So, but it kind of shows you, hey, like this is I would say probably still needs some spark plug wires and a tune up and stuff like that, maybe some plugs or whatever. But other than that, it's really probably a pretty decent car. 100,000 miles, everything should be pretty much as good as it can be on this car. So really the rust situation was just because it was in Michigan. We bought the car in Texas thinking it was a Texas car, but it came from Michigan, and they must have just driven it a little bit in the wintertime, the odd time here and there, maybe later in its life or something. And I think what happened was they were going through automatic car washes and it didn't wash the undercarriage very good. And so that's why it has this problem of a little bit of rust. It's kind of like behind the fender wells in the front, a little bit in the back, but not like the worst of it is like it rusted the rockers in the front there. So like I said, not a huge deal or whatever, but we might end up taking care of it down the road if he keeps the car or whatever. I mean, it's one way or the other, doesn't really that big of a deal, but brakes on and stuff. Said you could see I'm driving along. It's actually super windy out today. Yesterday we drove it and it was like kind of a normal day and it was super quiet in here, probably as quiet as my 2015 truck there. So now it's got all the insulations and the fender wells and all that stuff. So pretty impressive. It's like for being a 1995 car, it's actually like a fairly quiet car or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a pretty reliable car and stuff. It's got good power. It's good on fuel. Can't really complain. Driving sensibly, and you're going to get high 20s for fuel mileage all the time. I mean, for a young guy, that's going to be a big money saving thing. And like I said, until he gets a job, the biggest hang up why he hasn't had a job is we were on the road because we had been living on the road for a while there. Kind of during the big C, we hit the road and just traveled around and just kind of lived some life. So he didn't really have an opportunity to make money and stuff. That's the main reason he doesn't have a whole bunch of extra safety stuff. So he did work for me some a little bit later on there, whatever, but didn't have a pile of money saved up. So part of the reason he just got his license, like just so part of the reason of having this car here is that he's going to be able to get a job and make some money and stuff, and hopefully he can save up enough and maybe he'll get himself something a little bit more fun down the road. We'll just kind of see, but for now this one should be pretty reliable and pretty functional for what he needs and stuff. Like I said, whatever it's gonna, honestly it's funny because coming from Canada at 16 or whatever, 17, I guess 16, 17, I was delivering pizza for a living. Whatever, it was kind of something to do. I worked at a couple different jobs and stuff, but there was never any questions about insurance or anything like that. And my other son actually just applied for, he has some spare time and stuff, so he figured, well, I'll just drive and deliver pizza or whatever, just as part-time or whatever, make a few extra bucks. He's definitely a money-driven kid, and he likes making money. He wants to fix up his other C10 truck there. So he applied for that, and they pretty much told him because he's under 18, they wouldn't even consider hiring him. And I think he applied for a couple jobs that were like driving-based jobs like that, and they all said no. Which I thought that was really interesting because I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But insurance is so much different here than it is in Canada. Like, people complain about insurance and stuff, and and Saskatchewan, man, everybody complains about Saskatchewan government insurance there. It's anybody that's ever lived there, I mean, that's not just a negative person, pretty much. Like, I mean, they have the most simplistic, easiest insurance registration process in the history of mankind. Like, there's no titles on vehicles there, so you don't have to have a title to register a vehicle. If you want to buy a vehicle, we could write it on a napkin, bill of sale from Bob to Bob's uncle, and put the price on there, and that's it. And that's your license plate and your insurance and everything is all in one there. So you don't have to go like calling the insurance company. You go to the registration office there. It's never busy in small towns or whatever, especially. You just go to the office, even in the city. You walk in, 5 minutes later you walk out. Your car's registered, it doesn't matter. The only time you'll ever have to do any kind of like registration and stuff there otherwise would be like for safety inspections, would be like if it came from out of province or if it was in an accident. So if it was an out of province deal, if it's not a classic car, so like anything 88 and older would be considered a classic car there, so you don't have to safety them there. And then if it was like any kind of car that was on the road, you got in an accident, then it would have to be safety to go back through to be put back on the road again. So that was why actually when we moved from Saskatchewan to Alberta in 2018 there, it kind of ended up selling those, a good chunk of the reason I sold my Camaro there, because Alberta has all the safety rules, and I probably could have made it work. I had a tiny little garage. Actually, I didn't even have a garage when I first moved there, so no place to store things, so it would have sat outside anyways, which it ended up sitting outside anyways. But so I thought, well, I don't really have a place to keep it, it's like, what do I do with it? And then to have to safety it and stuff, we were just moving, and I was just like, man, it just doesn't seem worth the hassle anymore, so I sold it. I ended up obviously getting it back, because seeing other videos that I got there. I will do a real update with that car one day, but so that was the only real thing with like that kind of stuff. But down here, it seems like, like I said, we're in Oklahoma now, it seems like there's just obviously private insurance and stuff like that. It seems like a very overcomplicated system to me. You don't have a title or whatever, you can't register a vehicle. vehicle, and the title has to be in the last owner's name, and same with the bill of sale and all this stuff. And yeah, I know there's open titles and loopholes and things like that. I'm not doing that kind of stuff because I just don't feel comfortable with it. Not really familiar with the system and how that all works anyway, so I'm just gonna kind of follow the rules, whatever, you know, make sure that I'm actually doing things the right way or whatever. But it is too bad that it couldn't be a little more simplistic there. But yeah, so just kind of funny that he can't get a, you know, he can't get a job driving because he's under 18. So he's about to turn 18 actually, so he might still do something like that anyways. But it was kind of, I'm home a little, quite a bit more now than I ever used to be and stuff, so I've contemplated for fun just to maybe get like a Uber driving job or something like that, just to kind of get to know the city, because we're fairly new to that area and stuff now. I was like, oh, that'd be a good way to just get to learn the city. I don't know if I want to deal with people and stuff, but it's kind of a funny thing or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Said this is a, back to the car here, I guess. Said it runs and drives really good and stuff. If you're looking for kind of like a first car and you want something that's going to be super, super durable, I mean, you know, it's funny, I would have really thought before that finding a low mileage version of this car would be really difficult. And I guess not specifically this car, but there's some other ones like mid-90s Oldsmobile 98s, and there's like he had found a Buick Century, early 90s Buick Century, and some bunch like that. And there's lots of them that are like 50 to 100,000 miles. I actually feel like if it has a little more miles on it, it's probably a little bit better, because if it's got like 50,000 miles, it's almost not enough. I think you might actually have problems with something like that from sitting around, you know, depending on. My auntie is a perfect example of that. She bought a car brand new, a 1977 or 78. Sorry, she bought a 77 Nova. It was a 4-door car. I wanted it just because, but I never did end up getting it. But she bought it. She bought it with 5,000 kilometers on it in 1978. And when she finally sold it, this was just about probably 5 years ago. It had like 90,000 kilometers on it only. I think she sold it for like $500 or something, and it was always in a garage its whole life, really mint car. Somebody just probably took advantage or whatever. I mean, still a 4-door 6-cylinder Nova, wasn't nothing spectacular or whatever, but it would have been kind of cool thing to have, just like a one-owner car like that or whatever. But you know, but yeah, like I said, it's there's a lot of these kind of cars around from the mid-90s and stuff. Any of these General Motors products, they're pretty reliable. Like, you know, most of them had like this 3800 or 3.3 liter or anything from the mid-90s, and GM's is pretty good with these. But these 3800s are definitely the indestructible ones. Everybody's kind of familiar with these things. Obviously they got a supercharged version of this too. If you want something a little bit peppier, I was actually looking for one for him, but it was just, people still want a fortune for them. You know, you can get a Buick Ultra or something like that, or I think 96 was the first year, 95 maybe, the supercharged versions of those. So you can get them around, but most guys have already modded them and done things with them and stuff, and I wouldn't want to buy something that's been messed around with, especially for a kid's first car. So that's how we kind of ended up with this one. Like I said, just a budget thing too. So, but I think it'll be a good solid car for him and stuff. I mean, said for $1,300, even if I had planned originally to spend another $1,000 on it, so even if we had like $2,500 into it, you're not really getting any sort of decent, reliable car these days for $2,500. Where I think we have $1,500 total into it now with new brake lines and everything. And if I have to take it in and get a blend or something, I have to spend a little bit of money there. But really, for the most part, still pretty cheap car. Probably still be under $2,000. Again, not really getting anything for that kind of money these days. So pretty happy with it so far. And as you can hear, I don't know, I got my earbuds in, so it's probably a little bit louder than what you guys are hearing or whatever. Sorry, a little quieter, I should say, than what you guys are hearing. But I don't know, I said it's pretty good. As you can see, I'm down a pretty rough road here and stuff. This mount's not even, it's just sitting in the vent right now. It's just a little clip-in vent holder. And so it's probably shaking around a little bit there, but it's, I mean, the car itself is just riding smooth. It could probably use shocks, I'd imagine, but there's not really a whole lot of maintenance on these ones. I mean, it doesn't have air suspension, it doesn't have anything like that, so that is a good part about not getting like something like an Ultra where they have air suspension problems, because not super expensive, but it would be, you know, a bigger expense. Most of the time they're shot, so it's something to think about too. But yeah, so anyways, I was just checking in again here. Said I'd do a little video from the car so you guys can kind of see, talk about a little bit of other things while I'm on the road here or whatever. But I'm gonna cut out for now, and yeah, keep an eye on this thing and stuff. I'll probably do some more updates as he starts driving it, get the other things fixed on it. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out for, said, a $1,250 car that we paid for it originally and stuff. I said we'll probably have, I don't even think we have $1,500. I think the parts were $180, so that's really all we have into it. So pretty good, $1,250 car, $180 parts so far. Might need a few little things or whatever on top of that, but for the most part, I think that's a pretty good deal for, you know, budget first car for a kid or whatever. So yeah, so pretty impressed and stuff. I wasn't planning on driving it this far for the first trip, but it's working out so far other than the brake thing. So all right guys, I'm cutting off. Make sure you like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one.